Even though it's only one of hundreds, if not potentially thousands of matches, there is significant importance placed on a wrestler's debut. This is especially true when it comes to televised debuts for major companies like WWE. With the world watching, the last thing a superstar wants is to make a bad first impression. They would also, in an ideal world, emerge on the scene as a hero and have their hand raised at the end. However, I think we firmly established that at this point, the world is not perfect, and debutantes don't always get going with glory. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WWE stars who lost their debut match. Join us.
But before we start, today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. We at Cultaholic truly believe that Nord is the best service of its kind. Firstly, it's super easy to use. Connect with one click or enable auto-connect for zero-click protection. There are over 5,300 servers in 60 different countries, which is a hell of a lot. It has amazing speed, confirmed by the speed tests. NordVPN is the fastest service out there, and it's on every major platform. So here's how I use Nord. Obviously, I live in the United Kingdom, but with NordVPN, I can set myself to be anywhere in the world virtually and access content from those regions. So this means, if I fancied it, I could set myself to be somewhere in the world virtually and sign up for a certain sports entertainment network for a fraction of the price. Or if I happen to live in the United States, I could sign up for that sports entertainment network, even though it doesn't properly exist as it did in the United States before. Oh, and it works on lots of other on-demand services too. Nord costs the equivalent of a cup of fancy coffee every month, a small price to pay for complete peace of mind when it comes to cybersecurity and access to a whole range of entertaining content. Also, there's even a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if Nord isn't for you, you can get your money back, no bother at all. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/Cultaholic, a link's in the description below, to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus an additional 4 months for free. And remember, it's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks for watching, enjoy the video.
Number 10, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho had an all-time WWE debut to remember, shockingly interrupting The Rock on the August 9th, 1999 episode of Monday Night Raw. Y2J immediately established himself as a big deal by verbally sparring with the Great One. That confrontation, however, didn't set Jericho up for an in-ring showdown with the People's Champion. In fact, he didn't make his in-ring debut until over 2 weeks later, when he battled the Road Dogg on the August 26th episode of SmackDown. Oh, you didn't know? The match itself was standard mid-card WWE TV fare from the era, with classic spots like Howard Finkel throwing a drink into the DOGG's face. That wasn't enough for referee Tim White to call for the bell, but Jericho hitting his opponent with a powerbomb through a table was. Though he technically lost his debut via disqualification, Chris by no means was booked to look weak as he continued to punish his opponent with a post-match Walls of Jericho, only relinquishing the hold after the intervention of several WWE officials. Number 9, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan performed in WWE rings long before showing up as a competitor on the original season of NXT The Game Show. He wrestled various dark matches while under a developmental contract in the early 2000s, and famously showed up as an enhancement talent on weekend shows Velocity and Heat after he had been released. When he returned in 2010, he did so as someone who had developed a reputation as one of the very best wrestlers in the world. Of course, on NXT, he was a rookie being mentored by his pro, The Miz, a man who had significantly less squared circle experience than the American Dragon. Bryan main evented the first episode of NXT, putting in a spirited performance against Chris Jericho, who was acting as the mentor of fellow NXT contestant and eventual winner Wade Barrett. While something of a dream match to a certain section of the audience, it went for just under 6 minutes and ended with D-Bry succumbing to the Walls of Jericho. Not content with just losing on NXT, during his time on the show, he also took excursions to the Red and Blue brands to lose his Raw and SmackDown debut matches too. Number 8, Big E. Unlike Daniel Bryan, Big E was booked to look utterly dominant during his run in NXT. In fairness, E's NXT was the actual developmental territory, not the show where future prospects were made to look like jokes during absurd weekly challenges. The former NXT champion famously revived King Kong Bundy's 5-count gimmick, ensuring that his fallen foes would be pinned to the mat for an extra 2 seconds after being hit with the big ending. Debuting on the main roster as the muscular backup of Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee, Big E's first official WWE match was booked for WrestleMania 29. No pressure whatsoever, eh? Oh, and it was a title match to boot. Teaming up with the show-off, E challenged Team Hell No for the tag team titles. Despite taking place on the grandest stage of them all, it wasn't exactly a red-hot debut for the future WWE champion. His team failed to walk away with the gold too, when Ziggler was pinned following a chokeslam and flying headbutts. That said, at least Dolph could console his partner since he knew what it felt like to lose in his WWE debut. Number 7, Dolph Ziggler. Remember that thing I just mentioned about 2 seconds ago? I'm going to talk about it at length now. Adam Pacitti, king of segues. Dolph Ziggler had a long and strange journey to get to his sweet spot as a versatile and respected utility player who is capable of having a decent match with anyone. He actually won his first televised match as Kerwin White's caddy on an episode of Heat in 2005, then lost his first match following a repackage as a member of the Spirit Squad on Raw about 5 months later. After the cheerleaders were famously shipped back to OVW, Ziggler didn't emerge for a couple of years. He came back with a new alias and look in late 2008, competing under the Ziggler name for the first time on the December 1st, 2008 episode of Monday Night Raw. Considering his opponent was established main event megastar Batista, his odds weren't great, but Dolph put in a decent effort and the two had a surprisingly competitive match for the 3 or so minutes it lasted. The Batista bomb finish was a foregone conclusion, mind. Number 6, Karrion Cross. Karrion Cross in NXT was presented as an absolute killer, which is apt really, innit, since he was formerly known as Killer Cross before arriving on the black and gold brand. The 2-time NXT champion took no prisoners and tasted no defeat as he ran through everyone in the so-called developmental system. While still in possession of the title, during his second run with the belt, Cross made his main roster debut. Facing off against Jeff Hardy on the July 19th, 2021 episode of Raw, the assumption of almost everyone watching was that Karrion would dismantle the charismatic enigma on the flagship show. Things were ominous from the off, however, when Cross emerged for the contest without Scarlett by his side. Less than 2 minutes later, he was looking at the lights after Jeff outfoxed him by using the ropes for leverage following a powerbomb. So, what the hell happened here then? Was this a message from Vince McMahon to Triple H about the fate of NXT? Was it a rib on Cross for his 36th birthday? Or did WWE creative simply have no idea how to properly utilize a potential main event player? I have an inkling. Number 5, Randy Orton. Seemingly bred for the business and taking to it like an immature and insecure man-child takes to defiling a woman's handbag, Randy Orton progressed at exceptional speed after reporting to WWE's feeder farm OVW in 2001. Yet while most probably think his televised debut came after about a year of training in Louisville, Kentucky, that is not actually the case. The Legend Killer showed up on WWE TV long before he upset notorious rookie welcomer Hardcore Holly on that episode of SmackDown. Orton actually tangled with the one Billy Gunn on the May 6, 2001 edition of Sunday Night Heat in what was his televised WWE debut. Randy's lineage was talked up on commentary, and the rookie, playing the heel, showed promise in the way that he moved about the ring and bumped for the established star in their short match. It was a debut with very little thought or fanfare behind it, however, and Orton was really only there to do the favors for Gunn, who was in something of a limbo stage at the time. When WWE tell Orton's story, they tend to omit his long-forgotten loss here, but it happened, and no amount of RKOs out of nowhere or destroyed handbags are going to change that fact. Number 4, John Cena. Like Randy Orton, John Cena was a member of the fabled OVW class who ended up taking the sports entertainment world by storm. Orton won the debut that everyone remembers, as did Batista in a tag match with Devon against Orton and Mark Henry, while Brock Lesnar famously got the rocket strapped to him from the get-go and didn't lose a televised match for over 6 months. John Cena, on the other hand, was thrown straight to the wolves when he emerged as an unknown, answering Kurt Angle's open challenge on the June 28, 2002 episode of SmackDown. Far from the face that runs the place or even the Doctor of Thugonomics, Cena was so cookie-cutter that you could, cut cookies on those rock-hard abs of his? He was simply an ordinary trunks and boots wrestler who believed that he possessed enough ruthless aggression to get one over on the Olympic hero. Spoiler, he didn't. Though he gave a good account of himself and Angle helped make him momentarily look like a threat, the gold medalist inevitably got him down on the mat for a 3 count. Number 3, the Radicals. The shocking arrival of the Radicals on the January 31st, 2000 edition of Monday Night Raw set up an intriguing show-long storyline for the following episode of SmackDown. If the WCW defectors won 2 of their 3 matches against D-Generation X members on the night, they would earn WWE contracts. Dean Malenko lost the first bout with X-Pac, immediately putting the pressure on Eddie Guerrero and Perry Saturn as they did battle with the New Age Outlaws. Originally, Eddie and Perry had been booked to go over Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg, but an unfortunate incident during the match convinced WWE to rebook things on the fly. Latino Heat badly dislocated his elbow on a frog splash, and the decision was made then and there to have Road Dogg get the pin and end the match ASAP. And with that, the Radicals were already done as Chris Benoit headed into his match with WWE Champion Triple H, which the Rabid Wolverine also lost. Naturally. Number 2, Charlotte Flair. These days, when Charlotte Flair wrestles, it's often expected that she will emerge from the match victorious, so strongly has the Queen been pushed in recent years. That wasn't always the case, mind you, and Charlotte's main roster run in fact got off to an inauspicious start. Flair was the reigning NXT Women's Champion when she made her Raw debut on December 8th, 2014. Her opponent was Natalya, a handy veteran more than capable of making Charlotte look good just 3 days before she was scheduled to defend her title against Sasha Banks at NXT TakeOver R Evolution. How peculiar then that Natty got the W after just 2 minutes and 34 seconds, rolling Flair up as she went to apply the figure 8. According to reports at the time, Triple H lobbied for the NXT star to win, but Vince made the call for Natalya to get the Duke instead. The match also changed from a singles to a tag, back to a singles match during the course of the day, and Natalya herself lobbied to lose the match, though it was ultimately decided that nobody would remember Charlotte losing when she re-emerged further down the line. Yeah, us wrestling fans are notorious for forgetting things and letting them go, aren't we? Number 1, Cody Rhodes. A young Cody Rhodes won all his non-televised outings against the likes of Daivari, Carlito, and Elijah Burke prior to making his primetime televised bow. With his father Dusty watching on, the grandson of a plumber took on another generational talent, Randy Orton, on the July 16th, 2007 episode of Monday Night Raw. Curiously, this bout was booked as much to debut Cody as it was to help build the Viper's upcoming bull rope match with the American Dream at the Great American Bash pay-per-view. The plucky underdog registered a very close near fall with a big missile dropkick off the top rope and genuinely looked like he could pull off the upset before Orton took control. Once in charge, Randy never looked like letting the match slip away from him, and an RKO ensured that Cody got his WWE career off to a losing start. Not that the defeat did him much harm, of course, since he got to look like he belonged in the same ring as one of WWE's standard bearers. The American Nightmare would subsequently enjoy a nice little win streak before running into a hardcore Holly-shaped wall. How do you like me now?